Have you ever felt as if someone was in the room with you when you were alone? It's a spooky feeling that not everyone is keen to admit. There's research to help us understand this mysterious sensation. In fact, way back in 1894, the Society for Psychical Research conducted one of the largest studies on this topic. They found that 1 in every 43 people surveyed experienced visitations that seemed impossible, and they couldn't just be down to chance. The study included cases of telepathy, premonitions, and other unusual phenomena, like a nighttime presence warning a reverend away from a boat trip that later led to drowning. Nowadays, these experiences can be understood with the help of scientific models of the mind and body. For instance, sleep paralysis experienced by about 7% of adults has been linked to presences. Our muscles remain frozen, but our mind is active and awake. And more than 50% of people with sleep paralysis report encountering a presence. Although Victorian presences were usually comforting, modern examples triggered by sleep paralysis tend to be malevolent. But why would sleep paralysis create a feeling of presence? Researchers suggest that waking up in such unusual situations makes people feel threatened, and their mind fills the gap. Another approach to studying spooky experiences is to compare the things people feel during sleep paralysis to other experiences, like the feeling people with Parkinson's or psychosis might have. A study suggests that it's unlikely to be a sleep-specific phenomenon. Other cultures have their own spooky stories about nighttime presences, such as the Portuguese little friar with the pierced hand, or the Ogun Oru of the Yoruba people in Nigeria. Interestingly, we know from neurological case studies and brain stimulation experiments that bodily cues can provoke presences. For instance, a neurologist created a shadow figure in a woman's mind by electrically stimulating a part of her brain located on the left side towards the top and back. Additionally, when people's expectations about their senses are changed, it can make some healthy people feel like something or someone is there with them. So, while we might feel like we're not alone, it could just be our brain playing tricks on us. Now, let's carry on with emotions that we can't easily name. The first one is ellipsism. It refers to the melancholy of missing out on the future. There are 2 definitions for this term. The first definition is a personal sense of sadness that arises when one thinks of the immediate future they'll miss out on, such as not seeing their grandkids grow old, or not seeing their community or country emerge out of times of trouble. The second definition is linked to something of much more cosmic importance. It's a united cry out among the people of the present to get a glimpse into the future. From this point of view, ellipsism is philosophizing on the end of history itself. The past we idolize exists only in memory, and the future we ponder upon is a figment of our imagination. All that actually happens, happens now. Our fixations on the past and future are precisely what robs us of the experience of the present. Therefore, we should switch our perception of time around and live in the present. The next one is Liberosis. Grown-up life is hard. We have bills to pay, chores to do, and responsibilities to follow. Sometimes you just want to throw your hands up and say, "I quit." That's Liberosis, the desire to care less about everything. Let's all just be kids again, playing with our toys and not worrying about a thing. You know, like when you want to let go of your life, stop worrying about every little thing and start playing volleyball instead. It's like keeping the ball in the air with the help of your friends and just having a good time. Have you ever looked back on a past experience and wished you could tell your younger self that everything would be okay? That's Onuma, a fancy word for feeling happy and relieved about how things turned out. It's kind of similar to denouement, which is a fancy literary term for the end of a story where everything gets resolved. But Onuma, my friends, is feeling all bittersweet when you finally see the outcome of something you've been waiting for because you can't go back in time and tell your past self about it. It's you finally getting to that place you've always wanted to go, but realizing you left a part of yourself behind. It's like finishing a long journey with a friend, but when you look back, they're not there anymore. Woohoo! I made it! But then feeling a little sad because your friend isn't there to celebrate with you. Sometimes we have experiences that are very personal and meaningful to us, but when we try to share them with others, they just don't get it. Like you show your friend a meme, but they just don't laugh at it. That's Exilis, the feeling of frustration when people can't relate to our experiences. Alright, so imagine you're trying to tell your friend about this crazy experience you had, but they just don't seem to get it. They're nodding along and saying all the right things, but you can tell they're not really connecting with what you're saying. That feeling of frustration and loneliness you get in that moment, that's Exilis. It's not your fault. It takes some serious brain power to really understand where someone else is coming from. You've got to be able to imagine what they're feeling and thinking, and that's not always easy. Plus, even if two people go through the same thing, they might experience it differently. So what can you do about Exilis? First off, remember that you don't always have to be understood. Sometimes, sharing your story with someone who will listen is enough. Have you ever stood somewhere high up and suddenly felt the urge to jump? Don't worry, you're not alone. This feeling is named the Call of the Void. Despite its ominous-sounding name, the Call of the Void is actually pretty common and has nothing to do with bad thoughts, as a study from 2012 found out. But why do we feel this way? Well, it turns out our brains are wired to send warning signals in potentially dangerous situations like "Don't touch that fire" or "Back away from the edge." Sometimes, these signals get misinterpreted as an urge to jump or something risky. So the next time you feel the Call of the Void, just remember that it's normal and doesn't necessarily mean anything serious. Just take a step back, maybe call a friend to distract yourself. What about the urge to rewatch your favorite movies or listen to songs over and over again? Good news, it can boost our well-being. There are so many reasons why repeated viewings can be fulfilling and comforting. They connect us with our past. For instance, watching the same familiar show again and again can provide us with an exciting mix of relaxation and stimulation. It's like hanging out with an old friend who can still surprise you with something new every time. Another reason why we spend so much time with stories we already know is that repeated viewings can fulfill our emotional needs. We get the stories and emotions we expect, and we know exactly how we'll feel at the end. That's why comedies are more popular for repeated viewings than dramas or tragedies. But that's not all. Rewatching old movies or shows can also be therapeutic. It allows us to relive a time we remember with fondness and connect with people from our past. We can also use it to take a break from the overwhelming array of options that streaming services offer, which is the paradox of choice. Lastly, there's the conjuring effect. When we watch the same movie or show repeatedly, we experience a sense of personal control over the outcome. It can make us feel like we're directing the people and their actions, which can be very satisfying. And so there you are, enjoying the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the 10th time. Before you go, I should also mention that some of these scientific terms are made up. Well, kind of. They were created by the author of the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, so you can't find them in other dictionaries. Shakespeare also made up numerous words, and now we use them, so why not give a chance to others as well?
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.